Welcome to Hey Chaplain. My name is Jared Altick, and I'm a chaplain with the police department. Hey Chaplain is the police wellness podcast, and we cover the best topics about career, health, and family so that you can be healthier. This episode marks our 4th anniversary, and I wanted to go back and do follow-ups and business checks, checking in with some of our past guests to get updates. Hey Chaplain has now had over 100 guests in long-form interviews. That's not counting the compilation episodes. And today you'll hear again from cop and comedian Vinnie Montez, from Compassion Alliance, from recently interviewed guests like Kelly Enos and Joe Smarro, and also recently retired detective Stuart Littlefield. Let's begin by catching up with Colorado deputy and comedian Vinnie Montez. We last heard from Vinnie on episode 92, but I was able to catch up with him while he was traveling. Here's Vinnie Montez. Hello, Vinnie. How are you?
Brother, I am doing good. Just been busy trying to keep up with everything I got going on in the world.
Tell me about what you've been doing.
Well, I do this thing called stand-up comedy, and I still work for the sheriff's office, so it's just a lot, man. I just did an auto theft investigator conference night before last. It was about 200-300 of those people that were up there, and I was telling them jokes about, like, you know, how Grand Theft Auto, where cars explode and cops actually get to throw spike strips out and chase people. That's nothing like real life. It's more like Macy's Day Parade. The cops are just like waving like it's Queen Elizabeth going by. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. How often do you get to perform apart from comedy clubs?
Oh, I would say 95% of what I do is performing for special events, corporate. I do about 5% clubs, and I prefer it too because, you know, you go in, you do one big show, you know, and it's a lot of fun. I don't have to, like, you know, try to sell tickets and all that stuff. There's a lot of extra hassle that goes with that. Not that I don't enjoy doing it. Like, I'm headlining the big club here in Denver in July. Heroes Off Duty, I think we're going to be in Chicago like in June at Zany's and stuff. So there's a lot going on, man. There's a lot going on.
So you traveled overseas. Tell me about your trip.
Yeah, last year I was accepted to perform for on behalf of the Gary Sinise Foundation. This was the 3rd time I got to tour with them, but this one, instead of being national, going up to Alaska or going down to Arizona and Texas, this one is an international tour. We did 4 military bases in Poland last year, and we were able to entertain the troops, some of which were on Polish bases, and it was really interesting because there's some bases there's not a whole lot. And I think it's called the DFAC, is where you eat with the military, is what they call it, the DFAC. And I'm not a military guy, but I love our military. You know, unfortunately, that's the one thing I've never done in my life is serve in the military, but I really do regret that piece of it, but I've served in a different way. And we would show up at the DFAC, and these guys were so cool. I mean, you put hot sauce on everything. So right away, I was akin to my heart because I like hot sauce. And they were so nice. And then after we ate with the crew and introduced ourselves, myself and Matt Scannell from Vertical Horizon were on tour together. And he would do like an hour, and then I would do an hour. So we had like 2 hours of entertainment. And it was a great time for these young people to really relax, kick back, and let us entertain them because they're always out there on guard, standing post. And it made me feel really good inside because we got to go to 4 different places. And if you asked me to pronounce one of the places that we went to, I really can't because there was a lot of consonants. That's all I could tell you.
Polish is hard. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's very hard.
Now, a lot of the reservists and National Guard members over there are cops. Did you get to meet any, or did any incumbents say that, hey, I'm a police officer too?
Yeah, we got to meet some of the police officers, the MPs, and they were really, really nice. Everybody was really, really nice. They actually let me get into one of the helicopters, the fighter helicopter. It's not a Black Hawk. It's
an Apache.
An Apache. And I wedged myself into that top seat, and I was like, you guys are going to need a can of Crisco to get me out. And it was a lot of fun, and it was just an interesting time. We got to check out all the equipment. So we spent the day touring, meeting and greeting with the troops, hanging out with them. Then we went and ate with them at the DFAC. And if I didn't mention, that was pretty exciting for me because they had a cooler full of ice cream as you walk out, which was kind of interesting because they're like, sir, only 1 per person. And I was like, really? They're like, no, you just don't need it.
That's awesome. We'll hear more from Vinnie Montez at the end of the episode, but now I want to switch over to John Little John Little, of course, is from Compassion Alliance, an organization that helps first responders find good, culturally competent therapy. John was on the show in episode 78. Here's John Little. Hello, John. How are you today?
Hey, Jared. I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm doing wonderful. So tell me what's going on with Compassion Alliance.
Yeah, I'd love to. So 2024 was an exciting year for us. We were able to help out 120 first responders, spouses, and retirees. So that was awesome. It was our busiest year to date. So that's really exciting for us. One of the things that we added toward the end of last year and are exploring heavily this year is we're actually sponsoring some of our married couples for first responder marriage retreats across the country. So we take care of getting them to the retreat, and we've had a lot of great feedback for how those retreats have gone. So that's one of our exciting projects for this year is we want to expand that and maybe potentially even offer one of our own retreats sponsored by the Compassion Alliance itself.
If any of my listeners missed the times where I've had someone from Compassion Alliance like you or Dr. Rodarty, tell me how Compassion Alliance helps.
Yep, absolutely. So the number one thing that we do is that we connect first responders in need with quality trauma therapy services. And we cover the costs of at least 5 sessions in order to start that first responder on their journey to healing. The additional thing that we do that's a little unique from others in the arena is that we also take care of spouses, whether it's individual therapy or whether we need to look at doing couples counseling. We will support that initiative as well. And we take care of retirees. Just because you make it to the end of your career and hang up that badge, man, we don't want you to feel like you're alone out there. So we want to get you in and get you taken care of, because just because you hang up the badge doesn't mean you hang up the baggage. But then, like I said, we've added the marriage retreats, gotten a lot of great feedback on that. A lot of our couples have come back renewed, re-energized, found new ways to communicate. Lots of exciting stuff there. We'll help anybody in the country. We don't care where you work. As long as you are a first responder, a spouse, or retiree, and you're in the United States of America, we got you covered.
How are you guys doing in finding good resources across the country in different places?
When it comes to finding the resources of our therapists or these various retreats, I mean, we've built a pretty substantial network. We've tapped in with several of the national level professional organizations for police and fire and the other first responder disciplines. And that's, opened us up to therapists that specifically deal with first responders and those types of issues. So we've managed to expand that directory. We've had some problems in some states. Not everybody is as well covered as others. And we've certainly had our challenges, but we always manage to prevail because, like I said, at the end of the day, we just want to make sure our folks get what they need.
That's wonderful. How are you doing with fundraising? That's got to be a challenge.
It is. Fundraising is always a challenge. This year, in fact, next month, we're having our second annual charity golf tournament. We did our first one last summer. It was a huge success. In fact, that probably took care of half of our annual budget.
Wow.
So we're doing our second one here it'll be in Gilbert, Arizona. Actually, the course that we're using is in Ahwatukee, Arizona, right there in our backyard where we're headquartered. Of course, we still depend on the generosity of our individual donors, our corporate sponsors. We've secured a couple of grants. And so, obviously, if your listeners know any businesses that are looking to back a solid nonprofit that is all about helping first responders, please connect them with us, send them our way. We'd love to partner with them and just see how many people we can help in the country.
That's awesome. So if you have somebody who is reluctant to reach out to their own department, their own EAP, that kind of thing, how do they find Compassion Alliance?
So they can find us on the web at our website, compassionalliance.org. It's compassion-alliance.org. You hit us in a Google search, we come up right up at the top. And that's actually how we do everything. That's how we start our process. So the intake form is right on there. It's completely confidential. We don't involve your agency. We don't involve insurance. We don't involve your EAP. It's confidential between, you, us, and the therapist as far as getting you squared away. You're going to fill out that form, that intake form, give us some basic information to get a hold of you. Let us know what state you're in. we're going to make contact with you within 24 hours, and we're going to work on getting you placed within 72. So those are kind of our timeframes that we look at. If you're in an area that we're already well established, a lot of times we're making that connection within 24 hours and getting you referred and getting you on a schedule for someone. But if you're in an area that we don't have a lot of presence yet, it may take us a little bit longer, but we got you covered. No worries.
John, why do you personally spend time on this? Why is this important to you?
Well, I'm a first responder. I'm still an active duty cop. I worked homicide my entire career. I still work homicide. And so I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be there. I know what it's like to not be able to unsee some of the things that we all see on this job. And I know that, when I needed help, it would have been great to have something like the Compassion Alliance to be able to reach out to. And so that was the reason that we started this, because we don't want our first responders to walk alone. We want to be there. And that's why I'm in this 100%. I've been there since the beginning. I will probably continue to be there until I can no longer, serve. First responders are everything. We got to take care of them, and I want to do my part to give back, even though I'm a part of the profession too.
Gary Jenkins from the Gangland Wire podcast, also from episodes 35 and 46, reported that he is now working with a screenwriter for a script for a limited series about the Civella-Smarro War. So all of you interested in Mafia history are going to really geek out on that. It's based on his documentary titled Brothers Against Brothers. He's also got a couple new books out, Windy City Mafia, The Chicago Outfit, and The Big Apple, Stories from the Five Families. Both of those books are filled with stories from his podcast, and as these projects move along, we'll try to give you an update on that. Ginger Mama Passarelli also wrote to me about all the different places that the Soup Ladies have gone over the last year or so, from Washington, D.C., to California wildfires, to North Carolina hurricane victims. The Soup Ladies have been helping people all over the country. Mama Passarelli has been on multiple episodes of the show. You can find her, I think the first time was episode 10, and then episode 81 would be another good one. More recently, from episode 111, I had Kelly Enos, who was an officer turned college professor. I wanted to play for you an excerpt from his interview that did not make the final cut, but I thought it was really valuable advice about working in corrections. Here's Kelly Enos.
Yeah, I learned a lot. I had never worked corrections before. With the sheriff's department, they gave me credit for street time.
Okay.
So at the time, the average person was spending, I think, 3 or 4 years in the jail. Because I was coming in as a lateral transfer, they said, you'll do 1 year. And I that's exactly what I did. At 1 year, I think in 1 day. And they had me work at what's called East Facility, which was a maximum security unit. I did about a year there and learned quite a bit. Learned quite a bit about inmates, and it was kind of a school of crime. And one of the things I used to encourage other deputies to do, because it got boring sometimes, you're just babysitting these guys and making sure they don't kill each other. But I encourage them, hey, when you're bored, drag these guys out of their cell, out of the dorm, and pick their brain. If the guy's in there for dope, pick their brain. Hey, I heard you're a heroin addict. Tell me how you shoot up, and what do you do? They won't talk about their individual case, but they'll talk about just in general.
Right.
This is how we do dope. This is what they do when they look to rob somebody. We had a person in there when I was working the jail. His name was Jimmy Lee Smith. Jimmy Lee Smith was the one of 2 suspects involved in the Onion Field murders back in the 1960s, where 2 LAPD officers were kidnapped on a traffic stop, transported up to Bakersfield, California, and one was executed in an onion field and the other one got away. Joseph Wampa wrote a book about the incident. There was a movie made about it. But in the jail while I was there, here was the guy. Jimmy Lee Smith was not the shooter, but he was there with Powell. The story with Jimmy Lee Smith was, after he did time for the murder, even though he wasn't the trigger man, he did get a significant amount of time. But after he came out, he was in and out of jail for years. He was a doper. And so I recognized him. I recognized the name, and I told the deputies, hey, drag that guy out of here and interview him. This is who he is. And pick his brain. He's a wealth of information. And so I encourage deputies to do that, to kind of educate themselves on how criminals think. So yeah, it was a good experience. But after about a year, I was ready to leave. Yeah.
Detective Stuart Littlefield appeared in bonus episode 36. That's last year's Halloween episode. He just recently retired, and I wanted to pick his brain as someone who was freshly retired from the job. Here's brand new civilian, Stuart Littlefield. Hello, Stuart. How are you?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Maybe not as well as you are. You are freshly retired.
I am. It's almost 2 months now. I retired on February 1st.
What have you been doing?
The first patch was rough. I will give anybody advice who's looking to retire. If you live anywhere north of the sweet tea line, do not retire in February. We had a cold spell, and I was stuck inside for the better part of that month and did nothing but clean my house.
Oh, no.
But now it's...
You got stir crazy cabin fever.
I did. Yeah. But now, it's spring, so crappie season is here, mushroom season, and lawn mowing season is here. So I'm back out into the world, and I'm having a fantastic time.
How did the change of pace hit you?
It really didn't. There were a couple rules I made. I still get up every day at 5:30. I have coffee with my wife. She goes off to work, and my gift to myself was a treadmill. So I have an hour of workout time, and then I try to stay active. I promised myself I would watch no television during the day, and I've stuck to that other than some news stories. And I get out of the house as much as I can. I saw some guys that didn't look well after they retired. They gained weight, or they really looked old. And they were old. I am old. I'm 60 years old now. But I promised myself that I would maintain my level of fitness and my level of activity, and I'm sticking to that gun.
What hobby are you investing in?
I bought a guitar.
Really?
And I have had it for a while, and that is the new activity. So I'm still going to.
Like you're learning to play guitar?
Learning to play guitar.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yes. I'm not good at it. And
don't listen to me practice piano.
I don't think I'll ever. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever be good at guitar, but I'm okay with that. I haven't taken lessons yet, but you can do brain surgery on YouTube, so I'm learning a lot.
Yeah. How come you didn't immediately move to Florida?
My wife is still employed. She is a firefighter. So, I'm a Midwest guy. I like the seasons. I like the winter. My friends are here. I don't really plan on relocating outside of the state. We'll downsize.
Sure.
I live on acreage, and within 10 or 15 years, I'm going to get tired of mowing all that grass.
Yeah.
So we will probably downsize. But for now, I like this community. I've lived here all my life. I don't intend to pull up stakes, and even when she has 3 years left, so even when she retires, we'll be here for a little while.
How did you prevent being the bitter retired guy?
You know what? I'm not a bitter person. Now I do get angry. Things make me angry, but I'm not. There's a big difference between being angry about something and letting it consume you and becoming bitter.
Yeah.
It's always been my idea that if I can't fix it, I don't dwell on it. I might not like it, but if I can't take steps to change this, whatever I don't like, I let it go. If I can, then I'll try.
Yeah.
But it's the things that you can't fix that you're angry about, I think, that make you bitter.
Yeah. My favorite saying about bitterness is that it's taking poison, hoping that the other person will die.
I like that.
Yeah. And it's about what you can control. And there's just some stuff you can't control.
Just let it go. Let it go.
Yep. Don't spend resources on that.
There were command decisions that were horrible decisions. But they affected me. But you know what? I was stuck with them.
Yeah.
And we've talked about those. And you know what? These are the parameters. Stay within those. Things change, but try not to just don't let it consume you.
What's your favorite part about being retired now?
Honestly, my workout regimen is more regular. I am working out every day. My brother, he was a firefighter. He retired after 32 years. I see him on a regular basis, so we have a lot of time to do things. And I call him if I need help. He calls me if he needs help. So he's my helping buddy. my life really hasn't changed a lot other than I don't go into the office every day. But I have freedom. I'm going to take more fishing trips. I've already been on 2 trips since I've retired. I'm taking another fishing trip in June. So I will take a lot more out-of-town fishing trips. We went all the way down to Texas and went crappie fishing. I'm going to go up to South Dakota. My wife has given me permission to be gone 1 week a month.
Okay.
And by week, I mean leave Wednesday, Thursday, come back Sunday.
Right.
So I'm going to spend more time going to play. And a place I've been in the past, I just couldn't go every year.
Last question. What do you miss?
I miss the Bureau. Law enforcement in general is great, but I miss coming in. I miss my cases. I miss the people I worked with. And I missed hearing about other people's cases because there's a lot of brainstorming going on. And so, if you had a new case that had some stumbling blocks, you had a lot of people that you could go to for information, and they would come to me and I would go to them. And I miss all of that networking about cases.
You might remember Sergeant Tobi Wolf from episode 47. She is now Captain Tobi Wolf. We have several other people who've been promoted or retired or changed jobs or in the process of changing jobs but can't reveal it yet. And I would love to report those. If you know of a past guest who's had a major career change or something else to celebrate, make sure I find out before next year's Follow-Ups and Business Checks episode. The top 10 countries that download this podcast are the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, Singapore, Ireland, South Africa, Germany, Japan, and Mexico. Mexico just barely beat out New Zealand. The top 10 cities for downloads, excluding the Kansas City area, would be number 1, St. Louis, Missouri, then Chicago, Denver, Charlotte, Dallas, Los Angeles, Phoenix, Omaha, Nebraska, Singapore, and Oklahoma City. Indianapolis, Houston, and various municipalities in Los Angeles County all flirt with being in the top 10, depending on which day of the week I check it. I had Joe Smarro on just recently on episode 112, and I left out an excerpt that I want to play for you here about using empathy as de-escalation. Talk to me about empathy as de-escalation. What does that mean?
Yeah, I love this question because to me, like one requires the other, right? And people that think they can de-escalate without empathy, I think we're probably fooling ourselves. Yeah, maybe you get lucky sometimes, but let me just press on this CCRTC model I talk about real quick. So the first C is curiosity. First, one of the most important questions you can ever ask yourself as a first responder showing up to a call is what else could be true? Yes, the key card says this. I might even have history at this house. The last time I was here 2 weeks ago, I had to tase them. Remember, every opportunity is a new opportunity for a different outcome. Past information is past information, but you all, if we use past information as current reality, we are the ones escalating situations oftentimes. So keep it in the back of your mind that like, yeah, this last time didn't go well, but I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt every time because every time is a new opportunity for a different outcome. So what else could be true is a very important question that forces us to slow down and think, what am I missing? What am I not seeing? What else could be happening here that I don't know about? The second is focus on the person, not the problem. First responders, we oftentimes find ourselves very frustrated with people's problems. But I just want to give you a loving reminder that if you find yourself frustrated with people's problems, it's because you've lost perspective. People's problems are what give you permission to have your purpose. If people didn't have problems, what function would you serve? So be grateful that people do the things they're doing. So focus on the person, not the problem. The problem is the luxury that gives you the opportunity to show up. If they didn't have a problem, you wouldn't get a call. So the problem is the gift. Now, who's the person behind this? Did they sleep last night? What's going on in their life? When's the last time they ate? What happened in their childhood? Really open yourself up. That's curiosity. And again, all this is broken out in the book. Connection is as the next C. Connection. This is about reciprocity. My TEDx talk is titled, I See You. It comes from Avatar. They would take their hair, they plug it into one another. You see a transference of energy, right? In America, it's like, hey, how you doing? It's super trite. It's not deep. There's no real meaning behind it. We just say like, oh, I'm good, living the dream, and nothing changes. But true connection is, I want you to think of this as a police officer is like there's two camps: authority and aggression, compassion and connection. And it's not either or, it's and both. I can have authority and aggression when needed, but I'm going to always start with compassion and connection until they force me otherwise. And if you can understand that nuance, because when I say connection, it's like, hey, I don't want you to see me as a bad person or as a cop or as an authority figure. I want you to see me as Joe. And I'm just a dude that's doing a job. And this job gives me certain access to different doors at different buildings. That's it. Let's not overplay this. And so how can I close that delta between their perceived threat and who I'm trying to become for them in that moment? That's connection. Rapport, that's effective communication and active listening. That's active listening of CIT. That is the effective communication of negotiation training. It is very complex, but that's really what it is. That's the more pie, right? The 7 or 8, depending on which method you follow, skills of active listening. That is rapport. Trust. I tell people trust is about testing. Never, ever, ever ask somebody, because the last C is compliance. Never ask someone to do the big thing first, right? How malleable is their behavior? So if I want someone to do something, in fact, if you watch the documentary, you'll see I did this with Kendra, who was on the bridge. When she finally came over and I said, hey, look, will you just shake my hand? And she goes, no, because you're going to grab me. And I said, no, I promise you I'm not going to grab you. I want to build trust with you. I'm going to show you that I can shake your hand and thank you for coming on this side of the rail from the bridge. And then I'm just going to let you go. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm testing her to see if she'll trust me. And when she shook my hand and I let go, she trusted me.
Yeah.
There's another scene in the beginning of the documentary where a guy he's psychotic, he's on methamphetamine, he's paranoid, he's in a courtroom, he's holding a pen. Everything. There's a lot of cops that have problems with that scene. And they're like, Joe, your tactics are terrible. And I'm like, actually, I would argue my tactics are very sound. Again, coming from a lot of training in the Marine Corps in combat, coming from a well-trained police department, but also my own obsession with understanding human behavior and mental health. I was very comfortable in this arena. And everything I did was calculated. I closed ground. He didn't retreat. That's my first win. I laughed with him when he said something that I set him up for. I didn't ask him a closed question. I asked him open. He answered. I laughed. He received it. I reached out for a fist bump, oxytocin, human touch. Good. He did it. Cool. I never even brought attention to the pen. I tell people on compliance, the fastest way to get compliance is exchange orders for invitations. I didn't tell him, hey, Keith, sit down. I sat down and then I said, hey, have a seat with me. He joined me in sitting down. Talked to him. And then I said, all right, man, come on. We're going to get you help. Nobody's going to come get you while we're with you. We're going to take you in to get you help, use guided imagery. I stood up. He stood up. We start walking. I say, hey, Keith, you don't need your pen. Oh, he drops his pen. He is paranoid, thinking people are trying to kill him. He's on methamphetamine, has schizoaffective disorder, and he walks himself out of a courtroom, puts himself in a police car, no handcuffs, and people tell me how foolish I am. It's comical to me. But trust is always about testing first. Get them to stand up, get them to sit down, get them to hand you something, get them to fist bump you to see where they're at. If they're not willing to do a small thing, for sure, they're not going to do the big thing. Yeah. And then compliance is ultimately go for your ask. And if the answer is no, if you tell them, hey, I need you to step out of the car, you have some warrants. No, do not freak out. Do not panic. Just kind of smile and say, oh, how silly. They just mean not now. And so all you're going to do is go work the steps back, because I promise you they are stuck somewhere.
Yeah.
They are stuck somewhere. And when you get to compliance and they tell you no, it's because they are not with you on that place yet. You left them behind somewhere. Right. That is, to me, what empathy in de-escalation looks like. It's about caring enough about the other person to imagine how terrible it must be to be in their situation that, yeah, in your mind, you might be like, yeah, they put themselves there. Okay, sure. But let's not fool ourselves. The only reason some of you listening to this are in the position you're in right now is because you never got caught. Let's just call it what it is, right? It's very easy to live in your ivory towers as if we've all had these perfect lives. We've never done wrong. Stop lying to yourself, right? So to me, empathy is easy because I realize where I came from. I realize the struggles. I realize the trouble I've created, the problems I've created. It's so easy for me to be empathetic and imagine. And as someone with a diagnosed mental illness too, from the VA as a service-connected veteran, like, yeah, if ever I'm in a situation where I'm in crisis, truly, like, how would I want the police to treat me if they showed up? And not like I've seen a lot of times it get handled. And then I'm like, yeah, I would love for the version of me and many others out there. I'm not a unicorn. There's many great first responders out there for sure. But I would love for someone that thinks like me to show up to me and hold space to say like, yeah, man, I imagine this sucks. And I'm sorry this is what's going on. And I'm sorry that you're dealing with this right now. And I can't imagine what it must be like to be in your situation. I just want to help you out. Like, that would feel really cool versus like, yeah, you don't have a choice. Get out and start cursing at him and being aggressive and raising your tone. Like, it's frustrating when I see officers do that, but I also get it. Of the 18,000 police agencies in this country, the last data I saw was there's still like 40% of police departments that don't even have mental health training.
Yeah.
Like if you're not training police officers for the reality that they respond to, why should you ever hold them to any standard that they're going to get it right? And I wish more people understood this. The old saying is when the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, holds true to this. You know, if you're just teaching me about the law and it's black and white, and I'm a law enforcer, like, okay, you broke law, I must enforce law. That's like knuckle dragging, no thought policing. Like, I see problem, I fix problem. Right. But that's not serving anybody, right? And so it's like, yeah, give yourself permission to go make yourself smarter. Learn the things on your own. Because the reality is 35% of 911 calls have a mental health component to them. It really is on you. If not, yes, it's on your department, it's on your city or county for sure. But if they're not doing it, you owe it to yourself to learn empathy to de-escalation requirement. Love the question. Thanks, Chap.
All right, let's wrap up with returning to my discussion on the phone the other day with comedian Vinnie Montez. Tell me what you have coming up.
Right now, I've got a lot coming up. I'm going to be in Sacramento. I'm performing for a law enforcement group out there. I've got Fargo. I think it's the National Women's Law Enforcement Conference. I might be getting the acronym wrong. But it's going to be all women from what I understand, and I'm performing in Fargo, North Dakota for them coming up here in a few weeks. And I've got Ohio. Like, I got like 4 shows in Ohio coming up in the next different places. So I'll be like Denver, back to Ohio. Well, Fargo, back to Ohio. So I'm going to be going up there. And Ohio is a fun place for me. I did have a weird experience in Ohio once. Is I was backstage performing for a bunch of law enforcement explorers in this auditorium. And I was just sitting back there with this one dude, and he's like, hey, bro, after the show, we're going to take you for a 3-way. And I was like, dude, we're in the dark. I go, what did you just say to me? He goes, after the show, we're going to take you for a 3-way. I go, I don't even know who you are, dog. I don't even know who you are. And he's like, no, bro, we're going to take you to Skyline Chili. They have this thing called a 3-way, a 4-way, and a 5-way. And I'm going to go, next time, lead with, we're going to take you to get something to eat, not in the dark with some dude you don't know, and say we're going to take you for a 3-way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you've got a few more years in law enforcement before you retire.
Yep. I'm in the public information role right now, which is new to me. I've been doing it a little over a year and a half now, and it's been a lot of fun. But I am definitely got a few years left, not too long. Hopefully I can tap out and just, continue to do comedy full time. And I'm doing both right now. It's a lot of work.
Do you think you'll stay Colorado based, or would you, if you got an offer to work in Vegas or Atlantic City or somewhere or on a cruise ship or whatever, would you want to do that, or do you want to stay Colorado based?
Well, I've already been offered cruise ship stuff, and I've been not really interested in doing it right now because I love going around different places in the country. It's a lot of fun. And, if they asked me to do like a residency somewhere or something, yeah, of course I would consider that. But I do love, performing for almost every single group that I perform for. I would say 90% is always some new group that I'm performing for. And I love that piece of it because I get to meet all kinds of different people. They get exposed to me, and it's just a lot of fun. But I'm always open to whatever happens. Heroes Off Duty comedy tour is right now in the promotion stages, and it's getting bigger and bigger. And probably next year, it's going to be a very big production, and we're going to be traveling a lot with them.
And your documentary?
Oh man, the documentary. So I just got word from the director that they have done the final submission, and we're talking with less than a month before it's up. It'll be on several outlets, from what I understand, including Amazon. So I'm excited because we started this project probably a year and a half ago. It chronicles my life from when I was a very young kid all the way up through my time as a commander. It follows me around the agency I work at, which I guess I could just say because it's in the movie, the Boulder County Sheriff's Office. And it chronicles my life. You get to meet all the people that have really influenced me in my life, except my dad who passed away, but there's a surprise in there about that. And you get to see me on stage, how I do what I do, how I got to do comedy, what brought me to comedy, the story behind that. and culminates with a really, really good inside perspective of me, Vinnie Montez. And there's probably 1,000 photographs in this thing, all the way from the age of 6 years old till current. It's crazy. So there's nothing left to know about me after you watch this documentary. So
where do you think we'll be able to find that?
I think you'll be able to find it on Amazon. There's going to be a bunch of other places that it eventually gets pushed out to. But that's where it'll start, is on Amazon. And we'll see that probably in about a month here.
That's awesome.
It's about an hour and 25 minutes of nonstop action. It's not like your normal documentary. It's funny throughout the entire documentary. So you're like watching a comedy special combined with a documentary.
That's amazing. Vinny, Good luck. We're all rooting for you. We think you're awesome.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. And thank you all for the support. I would be nothing without the people who support me and my comedy. I really appreciate it. I wish everybody the best. God bless everyone. And hope to talk to y'all soon.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Each year on Memorial Day, it marks the anniversary of the Hey Chaplain podcast. This is our 4th anniversary, going into our 5th year. And as this show has grown, it would have been impossible to continue this as a hobby without people coming in to help support this financially. So even though most of them would like to remain anonymous, or at least do this discreetly, I still want to give them at least a semi-anonymous shout out. Thank you to Brian M., Anthony W., Jim S., Keith F., Bruce W., Joe G., Greg D., Kevin S., David P., Rebecca L., Greg M., Zach C., and many, many, many others who have supported this show through one-time gifts or recurring gifts on a monthly basis. God bless you. Thank you so much for making this happen. If you would like to pitch in and help, check the episode description of any episode. The views expressed here are the personal views of the host and our guest and do not necessarily represent the views of any law enforcement agency or its components. If you like what you heard here, please share this episode with a cop or someone who loves a cop. Thank you for listening today, and as always, pray for peace in our city.